Welcome to another edition of Investorideas.com AI podcast. This podcast brings you breaking stock news in AI and its impact on various industries. Listen to exclusive interviews with thought leaders and experts as they discuss how AI is shaping our future. And if you're interested in being a guest or sponsoring this groundbreaking podcast, you can contact us at 800-665-0411 or visit Investorideas.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of Investor Ideas AI podcast. In today's podcast, I'm going to be looking at a few public company announcements, as well as how the AI space is impacting both the field of aviation as well as medical technology, as well as some great new potential in the world of advertising. So first today, we're looking at Amazon Web Services, which is an Amazon.com incorporated company, trading on the NASDAQ as AMZN. And Poolside, who is the frontier artificial intelligence unicorn, which was valued at $3 billion in an October funding round. Now, they announced a multi-year agreement to make Poolside's generative AI assistant and foundation models available in Amazon Bedrock. Amazon Bedrock is a fully managed service that offers developers access to high-performing models from leading AI companies through a single API. Now, as a result, enterprise customers will soon be able to customize Poolside's generative AI assistant for software development with their own data leveraging and the security, privacy, and performance of AWS. Now, as part of the agreement, Poolside will also leverage AWS Trainium chips to power inference from the Malibu and Point Foundation models, enabling optimal price performance for customers. Now, AWS Trainium is a high-performance machine learning chip designed to reduce the time and cost of running generative AI models. Now, bringing Poolside's models to Amazon Bedrock and EC2 provides enterprise customers of both companies with a unique advantage to solving complex software engineering tasks and driving development productivity for the organizations through generative AI. Poolside's FMs are designed to be fine-tuned with each business's code and data, producing a proprietary generative AI model and software engineering assistant for that specific business. Commenting on this, we've been incredibly impressed with the AWS team and are excited to partner on this journey to unlock more of the potential of AI from software development, said the Poolside CEO Jason Warner. Now, today, the majority of developers sit within an enterprise environment where access to these tools is scarce and their full potential is yet to be realized. Companies of this scale need a tailored model that can be both capture the proprietary knowledge and learn from their interactions over time. And that is what we've built, and AWS's reputation and depth within the enterprise is key to accelerating adoption and impact. Giving AWS customers the flexibility to run Poolside in Amazon Bedrock or their own EC2 instances will further enhance their ability to innovate with generative AI, said Dave Brown, the Vice President of AWS Compute and Networking Services. Poolside offers a unique solution for software engineering teams of large enterprise customers looking to build and scale generative AI applications through foundation models without sacrificing privacy and security. It's yet another way to enterprise organizations to leverage their internal knowledge base and build proprietary tailored solutions. So streamlined procurement, contracting, and budgeting through the relationship with AWS makes it even easier for AWS customers to experiment securely with Poolside. AWS is the first cloud provider to offer fully managed models from Poolside. So, obviously, this is, I don't think, a huge surprise for people who've been paying attention to Amazon and specifically AWS, their division that offers web services. I think it's a pretty cool feature that they're going to be offering to have this Poolside capability. I think you're going to see other web service providers similar to AWS. I don't think really there's too many people in their same scale category. Everybody kind of, even though they don't think about it, uses AWS anyways. But I do think that this will be a feature that you're going to start to see more web service providers start to use. Again, there's some of these features that are already somewhat there, but obviously not to the same capabilities within companies like Square and Shopify. Obviously, those are much smaller scale. But I do think that you're going to start to see this type of AI innovation come into the web service provider space very quickly, because it's going to offer these teams that are developing their own sites, especially large-scale organizations that are going through AWS. So that's obviously not looking at sort of small-scale business owners, but pretty large-scale organizations and institutions. They want the security that AWS provides, and now they have this tailor-made AI software that's going to speed up. And if you've used these AI programs and if you're paying attention to the space, I know a lot of people talking about AI, it's still very theoretical for a lot of people. Even for myself, I do use it pretty regularly, but I'm still very much at a novice stage of understanding the programs and being involved with the different options that are out there. So for a lot of people, you're still only maybe just dipping your toes lightly into this and haven't really dived to the deepest depths of what all these different AI applications can be used for. And similar to just our smartphones, we all have phones in our pocket. They have millions of capabilities that almost none of us use. Most of us use our phones probably only at a kind of a 10% capacity, maybe up to about 40 to 50%. There's very few people who are really maxing out the capabilities of their phone because their phones have so many features, and most of us are just using it for basic options. That's similar to what people are doing right now with AI, I would say even to a lesser extent. Most people really aren't using any of these applications to their fullest capabilities. Obviously, there's a few people within these spaces who are definitely doing that, but I think a lot of the potential really hasn't been realized yet. With this feature of poolside being involved with AWS, I think you're going to start to see a lot of large-scale organizations really be able to max out their capabilities at a much faster pace. The downside to this, as we've already seen within the tech and coding spaces, is this could create another huge wave of job losses because suddenly larger organizations are going to need a lot less time to produce very, very good results. And again, if you're not quite used to how all these AI systems work yet, the biggest and most unnerving thing about them is they become more and more intuitive the more you use them. So that's what's going to be really interesting to start to see here is you get the security that AWS offers, but you also get this tailored product that's going to start learning and adapting to your specific coding, to your specific company, and your specific goals that your organization is trying to set out. And the more you use it, the faster it's going to learn to adapt to you and the better results you're going to get. So obviously it's a great thing for these institutions. It's a great thing for the tech space and business space altogether. But the downside is you're going to drastically reduce your workflow or your work time needed to create a very high value product. And so I would expect that over the next year or so, as this product starts getting utilized and as people start realizing the potential, and this probably goes into other web service providers, sort of tech space as well, I think you might see a lot of potential job losses within those areas. It's the downside. I think very much the irony of the AI space is the people who are coding these products are also the people being most heavily threatened by the products that they are creating. Obviously, again, there's some balance there in that a lot of these people still need to understand basic coding to use these programs. But I do think that, for instance, if you have a team of 60 people working on this project, you might be able to reduce that by half because their workflow is just going to be that much faster. And the more they use this, especially your sort of top coders or your top organizers within your company, they're just going to get results that much faster. And the more they use it, the better it adapts to them. So it'll be very interesting to see how that impacts many businesses over the next 2 years. I would expect to start seeing some impacts within maybe a year from this, but it'll be interesting to pay attention to. Now, next, looking at ALTR, trading on the NASDAQ as ALTR, who announced that it will work together with Auburn University's Samuel Grimm College of Engineering on a $1.25 million AFWERX Phase 2 contract. Now, the two organizations will develop analytical models for cyclonic flows, construct computational models, and study the stability of different vortex engines to address the challenges facing public and private sector aerospace organizations. I think this is pretty cool. It's definitely something to do a pretty deep dive into. I really think that, again, we're still only scratching the surface of the capabilities that AI is going to start having on different industries. Looking at aerospace and engineering, I think you're going to start to see some really cool ideas here. I'd mentioned in the previous podcast to check out the Joe Rogan podcast with Mark Andreessen, as well as the Tom Bilyeu podcast with John Vervaeke. Both things that got mentioned in both those podcasts, and there's a few different commentators who have been talking about AI who have really been smart to really focus on this one aspect, which is the very much alien learning focus that comes out of AI. So when AI looks at problems, it actually finds very novel solutions to a lot of these problems that traditional human thinking doesn't have, because traditional brains, all of us, we have our own built-in biases based off of our lifestyles we've lived, based off of the education we've had, based off of preconceived notions that we've been fed our whole lives. So many of us will see a problem, especially within very advanced fields like physics, aerospace, engineering. people who get to those roles of top aerospace engineers, they've been pre-programmed in many ways through their educational system, through their work, to really focus on problems through a very specific lens. And by allowing these AI models to start coming into these spaces and start creating different computational models and start creating different sort of options, you're going to start to see really new solutions come very much out of left field, because a lot of these AI systems, again, are just kind of processing this information from a blank state status. So whatever information they get, they're just going to look at the problem. The most obvious example of this was with Deep Blue. For anyone who didn't know what that was the chess program that was made early on, and a lot of the chess moves that it made, many professional chess players had never even thought about before. And this is kind of one of the main features of AI, is it actually is quite alien in comparison to traditional human thinking. And this is very much the advantage. Obviously, there's a lot of unnerving aspects about that, but the advantage is when it comes to things like engineering, when it comes to things like physics, when it comes to things that are very precise, and to get to the tops of those fields, you have to go through a large chain of sort of whittling down what your thinking is going to be about a problem. I'm not saying that people within this space don't have open minds or aren't capable of thinking outside the box. I'm just saying that it really gets drilled into you over and over and over again. The different institutions you're going to go through to really focus on problems through a specific lens, allowing AI models to start working with these engineers, with these physicians, physics professors, I guess, not physicians, but I'll get to that actually in a bit. But working with these teams, you're going to start to see very cool new solutions come out of this. So within the contract, ALTR is assuming previous role of research in flight, which was founded in 2013 and won a series of development contracts and grants over a 10-year span. This opportunity continues ALTR's legacy of innovation within the aerospace industry and demonstrates the power of our technology as we work closely with prestigious institutions such as Auburn University, said Pietro Cervellera, who is the Senior Vice President of Aerospace and Defense at ALTR. FlightStream empowers users in unique ways, bridging the gap between high-fidelity CFD simulations and engineering demands to set industry standards for efficiency, accuracy, and speed. So again, definitely worth looking into. This would be a company I would pay attention to, and especially this project over the next while. This might start to have impacts with other companies within the aerospace industry. It'll be interesting to see how much, for instance, Elon Musk starts using AI. I'm sure he already is to some capacity. But really what you start seeing within, again, we are getting a very competitive aerospace market, especially when you're looking at actual space tourism, which sounds still crazy to talk about, but it is actually becoming a reality. If you didn't watch the recent flight with Jeff Bezos's project, it was pretty crazy. It's pretty wild to see that this is becoming a pretty casual reality, seeing the SpaceX launches becoming pretty consistent. Obviously, Boeing had a huge flop over the last year. That was quite embarrassing. But again, what I think you're going to start to see is people who are willing to utilize these new technologies and start thinking of problems in a very different way, and working in tandem with AI, are going to come up with much faster and much more unique solutions to these problems, and are going to be able to really just jump ahead of their competitors. People who are trying to go the traditional route, who are doing things the way it's always been done, are going to fall behind at an accelerated pace, which is going to be crazy to see. And I think the Boeing situation was probably one of the perfect examples of this, where you have, again, people can have lots of different commentary about Elon Musk and SpaceX, but they're definitely innovating. They're definitely thinking through new strategies, and those strategies are paying off. And Boeing kind of went a traditional route. It really bit them in the ass and kind of damaged their reputation quite permanently, I would think, or at least for the next 5 years within sort of the space flight community. So definitely worth paying attention to what's going to be going on with AI innovation, with engineering, and specifically aerospace engineering. And next, looking at EPAM Systems Incorporated, trading on the New York Stock Exchange as EPAM, which is a leading digital transformative service and product engineering company, who announced the successful completion of its acquisition of First Derivative, which is a Northern Ireland headquartered managed services and consulting business for the capital markets industry. Now, First Derivative has one of the largest fully dedicated capital markets consulting teams in the world. The company deploys a range of technology capabilities to assist clients in meeting their technology challenges including application development and modernization, real-time data platforms, robotic process automation, machine learning, and AI. As we complete this acquisition, we are excited to welcome First Derivative's talented team and client base to EPAM, said Balazs Fehez, the President of Global Business and Chief Revenue Officer of EPAM. Now, this partnership brings together EPAM's digital AI cloud and engineering capabilities with First Derivative's expertise in financial services. Whilst First Derivative has historically been a key player in financial services and capital markets, we see significant opportunity to apply First Derivative's specializations in regulated industries and implementations of specialized commercial software solutions to our wider customer base. Now, EPAM will leverage First Derivative's strong industry experience and brand to deliver a comprehensive set of AI-enabled capabilities to clients in banking, capital markets, and other financial regulated businesses across North America, Europe, and APAC. So what I find a little bit interesting about this is what we're starting to see is somewhat of a reverse of maybe what we saw 4 to 5 years ago, which is a lot of financial services companies starting to acquire small AI companies. Now you're seeing an AI company acquiring a small to medium-sized financial services company. And I do think that as these AI stocks take off, again, I talked about that in the earlier podcast, and again, there's that great FinTech podcast that I would highly recommend looking into, which talks about some of the big gainers within the AI space, how fast they've been moving, why they've been moving so fast. And really, again, if you're listening to AI commentary, you have to focus on the idea of exponential growth. This is a big thing within the AI world, is that some of these companies are just going to start exploding overnight, and they're not going to really slow down because, again, if you're understanding how AI works, it only gets better the more it is used. The more data that is provided, the more accurate and efficient these programs can become. And so what you're starting to see now is a lot of these AI companies now have the funding, now have the capital, and sort of the girth to go and take out and acquire smaller companies. And what they're starting to realize is, we can acquire, in this case, First Derivative, again, a financial focused company that is obviously going to have a large client list, going to have the connections to reach out to a lot of these companies that maybe aren't implementing AI as quickly or hesitant about it or don't understand all the different aspects. And they're basically leveraging First Derivative's contact list to push their AI programs on different business sectors. And I do think that obviously, just like with all technology, we can all say this, that, and the other about AI right now, but just like cell phones in the past, you're all going to have it and all going to be utilizing it in the near future, whether anyone thinks they are or not. It just becomes an inevitability. I've personally seen over the last year many people that I've talked to and known on just a personal level, anecdotal basis, but people from a variety of different industries, people from a variety of different age categories. Start of the year, a lot of people were like, this AI nonsense, I don't want to deal with this, I don't want to have this, I don't like it, I don't know about it, this, that, and the other. Almost everybody I know who had that position at the start of the year has changed that position, if not 100%, at least 90% of the way. Most of them are still now utilizing some form of AI protocol on a daily to weekly basis. And, I heard one good commentary where AI is similar to an air fryer, and that the more you use it, the more you enjoy it, and the more you get out of it. And as a person who owns an air fryer, I agree with that comparison, but I do think that that's the reality we're all going to start facing soon, is the more people start actually interacting with these different AI capabilities and the more they're shown how they can benefit them on a daily basis, the more they're going to use them. And the more you do use these programs, the faster they adapt to you. That's one of the things that, again, Impact Theory's Tom Bilyeu has talked about a lot. He is, I would say, a good example of a podcast host who is not only promoting the AI software, but utilizing it on a daily basis and actually implementing it into his podcast. And you can see it in real time of how this is changing the production quality, how it's changing his research, how it's changing his conversations, even explaining how he can, research for guests using these different AI programs, and that the more you use it, the better it adapts to you. And the better it adapts to you, the faster it is to use it. And so you just get this crazy feedback loop where you're producing better and better results at a faster and faster pace. Again, different AI sort of analysts have talked about the dangers of this, which is we are biological organisms who are now basically overclocked because of interacting with these AI programs, which run 24/7 and are always trying to get more and more interaction with us. So obviously there's some potential downsides in the future, but for right now, I think that more and more you're going to start to see potentially this reverse order of AI companies acquiring different companies or marketing teams, things like that, and using their sort of human databases to then mine different interactions and get their AI programs into different institutions that have hesitations or skepticisms. And I do think as well, you're just going to see more and more institutions start adopting some sort of AI service or some sort of AI program into their daily life. And you're going to see the impact of that. And the people who don't do it, unfortunately, are just going to lose out too quickly because, again, the feedback loops you get out of this and the results you get just get better and better so fast. And it's so impossible to ignore those results. And so the longer you hesitate on this, the more you're just kicking yourself in the ass. Now, looking at the medical system, Neurosoft Medical Systems, a global leader in medical imaging solutions and services, announced its partnership in the Radiological Society of North America 2024 annual meeting taking place in Chicago. Now, RSNA is the world's premier scientific and educational event for the radiological sciences, bringing together leading professionals from around the globe. At Neurosoft Medical Systems, we empower radiologists to address clinical challenges while enhancing the accessibility and affordability of medical imaging from regions and communities in need, said Patrick Wu, the CEO of Neurosoft Medical Systems. Now, by integrating advanced medical imaging, artificial intelligence, and clinical expertise, we aim to provide caregivers with comprehensive tools for accurate diagnosis, and we look forward to engaging with industry leaders at RSNA 2024 to further advance healthcare through innovation. Now, they go through all the specific features, and obviously it's quite technical and focusing on medical imaging in a very granular way, but I do really think this is another area that if you're paying attention to what the impacts of AI are going to be, medical systems is a huge market, and especially this specific market when you're looking at radiological imaging. Just imaging in general, this is one of the sort of big bottlenecks that's created within the medical community is there's only so many people who can do this imaging. There's only so many facilities that are running, and they're often overworked, overloaded, and then there's a big delay on when you get the imaging and when those results get back to your doctor. Then they have to go through the diagnosis and sort of analyzing the imaging. Then that gets back to you, the person, and that delay in time can often be the difference of success or failure when it comes to health outcomes. So if you can speed down this time and you can decrease this bottleneck, that's a huge benefit for a lot of different people with different diagnoses. They'll be able to get medication faster. They'll be able to diagnose the symptoms and the problems much quicker, and that creates a better patient outcome every time. Obviously, it's still at a phase where, again, there's lots of skepticism about the accuracy of these different AI technologies. So they're focusing here on not just using the AI, but also in tandem with clinical expertise and the medical imaging that already exists. So this will be a training aspect for both the healthcare providers and the radiological image takers, as well as the AI systems. So that learning curve is still going to take a little bit of time, but it'll be interesting to see, again, once people start using this more frequently, this feedback loop is going to happen, and you're going to start to see the people who are doing these imaging are going to do it faster. They're going to use these AI systems better. And once they start to see consistent results, which I think will happen sooner rather than later, they will start to trust these systems. Once these systems can provide consistency over a long period of time or a good data set, then you're going to really start to see this take off. And once you can see proof of concept for a lot of these things that this is working, that's a huge benefit for the medical industry. It's a huge benefit for people who are seeking medical aid because, again, if you've ever had any sort of imaging done, you know that there's a big delay between they take the image, and even the people who are doing these images still know how to pretty much analyze things on the spot, but they have to then send it off to the doctor. It has to then get analyzed, and there's this sort of back and forth. But if we can get more certainty right out of the gate, then it can just go right to the doctor. They can go right to prescriptions. They can go right to dealing with the problem, as opposed to this sort of back and forth delay that has to go between the person actually taking the image and the person then diagnosing the image, and then back to you, the patient. So I do think that there's really good benefits here. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but I'm very hopeful of, again, the hopeful good side of AI, which is this positive feedback loop of the more they use it, the better it's going to get at actually analyzing what they're trying to teach it. And these AI systems are highly intuitive. So if it's working with actual good experts who know what they're doing, they can train these AI models fast, and then you're going to start to see results pick up at an exponential rate. Now, lastly, in the world of online advertising, AdCreative.ai has announced the launch of the world's first AI-powered product-to-product video generative model. Now, built with ADLLM at its core, the first language model created exclusively for advertising, this tool is set to transform how businesses create high-impact, conversion-optimized video content. So it's got a lot of neat features, and I'm going to show the ads that they've created at the very end of this so you can judge for yourself. The innovation marks a new era in advertising, said Tufan Gok, the CEO of AdCreative.ai. Our goal is to make high-quality, conversion-focused video creation accessible to businesses of all sizes. The videos are pretty good. You'll see for yourself shortly. But I am not going to hold my breath on this yet because as a person who's used lots of these different image and video creation softwares, I do notice that the issue becomes precision and consistency over multiple uses. So for instance, if you want to have a brand, it's very difficult for a lot of these AI models to keep your brand consistent over a lot of repeat images or repeat videos. They start to focus or have issues with very key specifics. And this seems to just be, I'm not sure if this is intentional. So for instance, this company is focusing on advertising. They could make that more efficient and could have dealt with that bug. But if you've used, a lot of the different image creation softwares that are out there right now, you've probably experienced this problem that trying to get the same image over and over again becomes quite difficult, and especially if you have a specific brand or word across your product. So for instance, in these product videos that I will have at the end of this, the products that they show don't really have specific wording, labels, or any actual branding on it. They just have a generic sort of product, and it's got really, the visuals are fantastic, don't get me wrong, it looks really, really tight. But what I see might be the problem is, for instance, if you have a product that has to have ingredients or warning labels or something very specific and detailed and hyper-focused around your label. For instance, you have a can with ingredients, a very tight logo, a graphic, another thing. I don't know how well it's going to do with those products. I think it'll get the can shape perfect. I think it'll get the color right. I think it'll might make mistakes when it comes to the specific brand wording, when it comes to the logo, all those things. One of the best examples of this is trying to create images of tattooed characters and keep the tattoo the same. This is kind of one of the most obvious flaws that AI image generation and video generation softwares are starting to have. You'll see that there's sort of a wonkiness to it that can't quite be consistent. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. I would definitely pay attention to this. Right now, it is currently only available to their sort of top suite payment providers. So this is for the pro and enterprise customers during its beta phase, and it's planning for a broader rollout. So it is worth looking into if you already have an account with AdCreative.ai. I'm sure you're playing around with this. And if you haven't, it's 100% worth looking into, and I would try to find examples of these ads being actually implemented in real time over the next coming months to see what the issues are going to be. Is it going to work as good as everybody says, or are these flaws that have existed in all these other image and video creation softwares going to be there? Again, I talked about OpenAI's video, text-to-video platform that's hopefully going to be launching in the next year. That one, I think, is kind of the big dog that everybody's waiting for. Once that goes out, I think it's going to be pretty wild to see how much video creation starts happening. I think places like YouTube and TikTok and even Twitter are going to be pretty crazy, almost overwhelmed with the amount of videos that just start getting pumped out. Obviously, there's lots of different AI software. Again, I try to use it as much as possible. I think it's foolish not to in this age. But I do see that all of this software right now, it does take a learning curve. There are still some flaws in it, and it does have issues with consistency and details over time. So again, you can watch this video. I'll have it right after this. And let your eyes tell me what you see could be the potential problems. Like I said, I think it's going to be details and consistency over time. And that's all for today's podcast. Please check out investorideas.com for any of our other content, and hope you have a great day. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. Investorideas.com is the go-to platform for big investing ideas. From breaking stock news to top-rating investing podcasts, we cover it all. Our original branded content includes podcasts such as Exploring Mining, Clean Tech, Crypto Corner, Cannabis News, and the AI. To learn more about our site, go to investorideas.com. Our site does not make recommendations for purchases or sale of stocks, services, or products. Nothing on our site should be construed as an offer or solicitation to buy or sell products or securities. All investing involves risk and possible losses. Paid content is always disclosed and in disclaimer for paid content if needed. Global investors must adhere to regulations of each country, and please read investorideas.com privacy policy.